The purpose of this training video is to explain key points about the materials you will use and the importance of cleanliness and safety. It is designed for new employees who will stick cuttings. After finishing this module, you will know what a plant cutting is, the materials you need at your workstation, why cleanliness and safety are important, and how to match the bag of cuttings with the correct tray. What is a cutting? A cutting is a section of a plant stem that will grow roots, leaves, and flowers and form a whole new plant. The plant cuttings you will stick will grow into beautiful plants for containers or the landscape. Each cutting already cost the company between 5 and 50 cents and may have been grown by another greenhouse and flown from overseas before arriving here. Cuttings are therefore valuable and are sensitive living plants. The way you handle the cuttings will have a big impact on whether the plant grows or dies. Any mistakes at this point will affect your co-workers. If you can stick the cuttings quickly and with care into the tray, your performance will be recognized and rewarded. What is sticking? When we talk about sticking a cutting, we mean the process of placing the cutting into the growing media in the tray. Sticking is the first step in growing the cuttings. After sticking, the tray will move into the greenhouse where the plant will grow roots. What materials will you need? Your supervisor will provide you with a set of materials. This may include items such as gloves, disinfectant, apron, trays, plant cuttings, labels, and a chemical rooting hormone. If you run low on these materials, let your supervisor know in advance so that you're not slowed down. Do not share equipment with other workers without asking your supervisor, because that could move pathogens, which are microbes that cause plant diseases, from one area to another. What are plant varieties? There are many different types of plants, called varieties or cultivars. Each variety will grow into a plant with a particular color of leaves, flowers, or size. Plant cuttings may be delivered to you in bags or trays. They will be grouped by variety. Many varieties of cuttings look the same, so the only way to know for sure is by checking the label that comes with each bag of cuttings. Unless the supervisor tells you otherwise, do not put more than one variety of plants into each tray. Therefore, if you do not have enough cuttings to fill a tray, ask the supervisor before getting the cuttings from another bag. If there are more cuttings in a bag than are required to fill the tray, ask the supervisor what to do with those extra cuttings before sticking them or throwing them away. What are trays? Trays are made up of many individual cells which hold the growing media. Your supervisor will tell you the tray size where the cuttings will be stuck and the type of growing media you are going to use. There are different tray sizes, which are usually described by the number of cells in the tray. For example, this is an 84 count tray with 7 by 12 cells. This is a 50 count tray with 5 by 10 cells. Match labels in trays. Each tray will have a label that describes the variety. The label might be stuck onto the tray or placed into one of the cells in the tray. Every greenhouse business has a different type of label, and you need to understand how to read information on the label. It is essential that you match the label in the bag of cuttings with the label on the tray. Otherwise, the customer will not get what they ordered. It is like them ordering a hammer but receiving a screwdriver. That will result in a customer complaint. Depending on the procedures in this greenhouse, you may be asked to stick the label from the bag of cuttings in the tray or on the outside of the tray. You may also be asked to place a label with your name on it into the tray for quality control tracking. What is substrate? The substrate is what fills tray cells and what the cuttings are planted into. It is also called soil or growing media. It can be made from peat, bark, and other materials. The substrate is necessary for cuttings to grow and is not harmful to workers. It supports the cutting stem, holds air, water, and plant nutrients, and provides the space for roots to grow. Safety and cleanliness. Wash your hands and forearms with water and soap before work and after breaks and lunch. Smokers should be particularly careful in washing hands and should always wear gloves when handling trays or plants because tobacco can spread disease. You may be asked to wear protective clothing such as gloves or an apron. It is essential that you follow these instructions to protect your skin and health. It will also ensure that cuttings do not become contaminated from pathogens or insects on your hands or clothing. Follow supervisor's directions regarding changing gloves and disinfecting between varieties or greenhouse locations. Keep your work area free of old soil and plant material, and use a disinfectant spray as directed by your supervisor. Clean first, then disinfect. This will reduce pathogens being transmitted to the cuttings. At the end of the day, you will need to help tidy and clean the work area. Equipment safety. The supervisors will train you about how to use the equipment. You may need to handle machines, carts, and chemicals, and during peak production, there is a lot of activity around you. Listen carefully as your supervisor explains all the tips you need to know to work safely at this business. Now you are ready to start work. See our next video in the series on how to stick cuttings into the tray.